It is Indiana in the Morning, presented by First Commonwealth Bank, and it's AM 1160 WCCS and 101.1 FM. Sidle up to the microphone there, Mr. McQuaide. How are you?
Doing good. How about you, Todd?
Wonderful. Tim McQuaide is with us, and it's not true that this segment will be devoted entirely to the legendary Coney Island softball team.
That would take a little bit longer than this.
Yeah, we could, though. We could get a start on it, and Berkebau here would fill in all the details for us.
Yes, I'm sure he would.
But what we do want to talk about is a very special event to you, I know, and to members of the Indiana High football community, and that is the Bob McQuaide Classic.
Yeah, we're coming up on our 22nd year.
Wow.
It doesn't seem like it's been that long, but we've been pretty successful. We've raised a lot of money for the high school football program, especially when we came back. When I came back in '92 for a few years there, they went pretty much with one win or no wins, and we've seen some much higher caliber football produced in that latest time.
Yeah, well, through those years, that was when I was doing it. It's my fault. I did 12 years of Indiana High football, and those were those years. So it's all my fault. Since that time, turned things around in a big way.
Well, they have, and we've had some great coaching and a little bit more commitment to the football program, which is dear to my heart because I grew up around football. My father was a high school football coach, and he was part of a team that in 1951 they went undefeated. But I think the most important thing about that team was that the 11 starters all went to college.
Yeah, and then did they all play college football?
A lot of them did.
Your dad
but
did.
Not all of them. Yeah, my father did. There was Cy Dubinsky went to Penn State. We had some guys who went to Army and also to Brown University. One of the Kovalchiks went to Brown. I think it helped start that tradition.
Mm-hmm. Bob McQuaide Sr., of course, all-state football player, and just a guy with a great, generous heart for not only Indiana High football, but for the entire community.
Yeah, my father was a go-to guy for advice, and when he coached football, he found himself sort of in the same predicament that football was sort of waning in areas and bigger schools and tougher schedules, and figured out he couldn't raise 4 kids on what he was making as a teacher and a coach, so hence getting into the Coney Island.
Yeah. Well, and that certainly has been a great mission of yours as the proprietor of the Coney Island is to support the Indiana High football team and so many other causes about Indiana County and Indiana Borough specifically. Let's talk about the Bob McQuaide Classic, the whens and the wheres, and who can take part.
Well, it's the 9th of July at Meadow Lane Golf Course. It's a Saturday this year as opposed to... I'm not sure if it is the 8th or the 9th, but it's that Saturday. And we are teeing off at 1 o'clock. It's $300 for a foursome. And we're getting a lot more people involved this year. The boosters are helping to take over and doing a large part of it, which I'm hoping that in this time period that we can start to hand it over a little bit. 22 years has been a good run. But I'm looking forward to being able to just show up and play golf.
July 8th is the Saturday. So
yes, July 8th, excuse me, yes.
Okay, and where did you say it is?
It's at Meadow Lane Golf Course.
All right. Anybody that wants to learn more about it, is there a Facebook page, or they just need to go to the Coney? Or?
Yeah, you could contact Todd Rabel is a big part of this. He is the guy who's sort of taken the flag and running with it. But any of the Indiana High football boosters, or you can obviously call the Coney Island for any information whatsoever.
Yeah, football's been such a big part of the McQuaide family and Indiana High football, of course. And tell me if the story is true that I heard yesterday about your dad and Mike Ditka and the position switch.
Yes.
That's true?
Yes. Well, my father played with some great football players at the University of Pittsburgh. Obviously, I've been a Pitt fan my whole life. And, yeah, my father, when he asked to be moved to another end and was told that they had a guy coming in that they were, going to put in that position, and his name was Mike Ditka.
So, yeah.
Well, and that's sort of like the story about my brother Pat, who was a quarterback in high school, all-state safety, and he went to University of Pittsburgh to be a quarterback, and just so happened to be a guy going there at the same time by the name of Danny Marino. So we all know how that ended up.
You mean cousin Dan? Is that the one?
Yeah.
Okay, he's not. He's not related in any way. I used to get
Well, somehow maybe.
I used to get mail all the time because people thought not that I was him, but that I was a
Connections.
brother. Yeah, and
Right.
could you get to your brother Dan for me and maybe get this autographed? Or I have a piece of ground. I got a letter from some guy one time. I have a piece of ground to sale, and I think Dan would be interested in it. Could
Right.
you?
I don't think unless it's in Florida, he'd be interested.
Yeah, probably not. The Bob McQuaide Classic is going to be coming up at the Meadow Lane Golf Course on July the 8th. You, as speaking for the Coney Island, of course, you do a lot of things for the program, including the pregame meals, don't you?
Yeah, we've been doing the pregame meal for quite a bit lately. We sat down and figured it out, and we figured that we've served over 7,500 meals to the high school football team at no cost.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. But it shows.
Well, and part of that is I can't take the credit. It's my family. My mother is there. She's been there since the very beginning, still spooning out the pasta. Everybody from my son to my sister is a big part of it. And my brother-in-law, Jamie, I can't for a second not talk about him and what he does, too.
Yeah, well, it's just amazing because the Coney Island, of course, has been involved in Indiana high football for many, many decades, and it really shows the level of commitment that you have to the program. And that's a thing about Indiana County football. You, of course, involved with Indiana high football. Homer Center has their boosters groups. The folks at Penns Manor Purchase Line, Blairsville, Salzburg, they all have United. Who did I leave out? Marion Center. They all have their traditions, and they all have their boosters that generally are people who came through the program themselves. They see the value of what football is and does for young men, and they want to see that tradition continue. It's harder and harder every year, but if you have the love of the game, as obviously you do, and of the program, then you want to see things like that continue, and you want those benefits that you got as a member of Indiana High's football family to continue through the next generation and the generation after that.
Well, we've seen a lot of great kids come through the Indiana High football program. And like I said, I grew up with football. I was on the sidelines when I was a kid. And when I came back to town, it was very apparent in 1992 that the program was not on good legs and that there wasn't a whole lot of commitment. And at that point, I talked to a few people, and we sort of came up with a plan to try and get them some extra money because everybody knows how tight money is now in school districts.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what it's all about. And events such as the Bob McQuaide Classic are the things that sort of drive these sorts of efforts. And, we appreciate that there are people just like you doing this for this program, just as for all of the other programs. They have people working behind the scenes, car washes, golf tournaments, dinners, spaghetti dinner, all of those things to raise funds to help these young men continue to play their sport, and young women, whatever their sport might happen to be as well. Tim, thanks for coming in to talk a little bit about it with us.
Thank you very much, Todd. Maybe one of these days soon we'll have to talk about the legendary Coney Island softball team.
One of these days, very soon. Let's do that. It is
Thank
Indiana
you.
in the Morning.